Hey, everybody. Oh, that's weird. There we go.
There we are.
Welcome to Spark Live. Going to be a good one today. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday. Um, man, I haven't been outside today. I got up this one. So my wife's out of town. The dog wouldn't settle down, like, kept jumping up because every time there was a noise or anything else, she thought mom was home. And so she'd jump up and run downstairs. And middle of the night, about I don't know, 1:30, a cat outside set off the motion light and she started barking and wouldn't stop until almost 3. So I didn't get much sleep anyway, but I got up early, started working, and I haven't even been outside. So is it pretty out there?
Yes, it's pretty. Enjoy it. You not need to just dip your toe out. Just enjoy it for a moment. Come on back in, and you'll be just fine because it's going to rain tonight and tomorrow about half the day. So
Oh man.
letting you know.
Okay.
It's going to be cold as crazy here Saturday and Sunday. This is all I do, guys. I'm just a weather reporter here. Y'all think I do other things. I just report the weather.
Oh, that's funny.
Uh,
So Taylor and I live about an hour apart, hour away from each other, and so the weather is actually very different in the two spots, just be even an hour away. So it's always interesting to hear how things are there. All right, well, let's get into what we're talking about today.
Oh, I love this topic, and it's creating trust with your customers. So one of the reasons that I really love this topic is because it's like so many other topics. We think one thing, but we're maybe not too sure. And so, there's a couple of questions that I'm going to ask around this topic. So here we go. You guys ready?
Yep.
Here they are. Do you think your customers trust you? If you think your customers trust you, the answer is yes. Guess what? It's just an opinion. The other question, do your customers trust you? Because that's a fact. Do you know for a fact that your customers trust you? Just those nuances. Do you think? It's an opinion. Do you know? That's a fact. So we want to talk about the gap between those two things because many, many, many of us think our customers trust us. But a lot of us don't really know for sure. So there's something called the trust gap. It's between what we think and what we know. You got any comments about that?
No, I'm following along though.
Oh, okay.
I'm having technical problems.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll just keep talking then. You just keep going with your technical problems. So one of the things that I just want to ask the people that are here today, if you could just put in the comment section would be great. Do you know? Just put, I know. Or do you think your customers trust you? I mean, that's what we really want to ask those questions. Do you really know that, or do you think?
Well, and then the question, how do you know?
How do you know? Yeah. So let me, there's a couple of things that I think is really interesting. People who like you, they'll listen to you. And we're going to talk to Jerry Isenhour in just a little bit about this. He said this today. People who like you will listen to you. People who trust you will do business with you. That's a great thing to remember. So if you've got people out there that you don't understand why they've never done business with you, because you talk to them, they're friends, they're family, they're whatever, but for whatever reason they ever hire you to come do something, and maybe because they don't trust you. Isn't that interesting? So I just thought that was a great, great thing to say. And we have a comment. Yes. I know that customers trust me. It all comes down to confidence because they have confidence. It really is. I mean, it is a confidence deal. If they have confidence to know that you're going to do the next things we're going to talk about, because how do you really, and I did something, I'm going to do this, Terry, because I got to get back to this. How do you close the trust gap? We're going to talk about that. So here we go. How do you build confidence? Well, Always keep your promise. Always keep your promise. Now, that's a big statement, always. And I can say, I would say probably 95 to 96% of the time I have kept my promises. The biggest one that I miss is promising my dad or my kids that I will call them. Because I talk to so many people during the week, and I've realized this when I went through this whole deal, that when it gets to the weekend, I don't want to talk to anybody, especially on the phone or on a Zoom call, you know? And I take advantage of that. And I thought about that. It's like, you know what? I got to get better than that. I got to make sure that I always keep my promise because, you know, it's the people that's closest to us that love us that let us get away with crap.
Boy, isn't that true?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, that's a really big deal. Being transparent is another thing. You know, being transparent is really hard because we have to be vulnerable to be transparent. I mean, sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but it's really hard sometimes. I mean, really hard for me to say, yeah, I'm wrong. I did something wrong. I messed up. I mean, I had one of my employees yesterday in a conversation made a comment that one of our clients, who she likes a whole lot, says anytime, you know, things will get blown up and she'll go back and she communicates with him and she shows what he did and what happened. And if something is her fault, she says, yep, you're right, blah, 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 blah. She said, but about 75 to 80% of the time, I'm right. And he's not one time said, I'm sorry. Not one time said that he was wrong. I said, how'd that make you feel? She said, well, it just makes me feel like he didn't have a lot of empathy. Isn't that interesting? So being transparent and in that, admitting that you might be wrong every once in a while. Here's a big one for business owners. Be easy to connect with. And I would even go one step further than this. Be easy to do business with. How many of you make it hard to do business with you? Perfect example. I know people who do not want a phone number on their website. They still want a phone number on their website. If you do business with them, you got to come through a form. You got to do it their way. And my deal is if you're in business with consumers, you need to make it easy. If they want to text you, take text. They want to call you, make sure your phone number's out there. If they want to chat with you, put a chat widget on your website. You know, however they want to get in touch with you, to do business with you, make it easy. Make it easy to connect with. How many of you have ever signed a contract on Monday and thought, I'm just kind of rethinking this, and on Tuesday you can't get a hold of anybody? Is that a trustworthy company? Isn't that interesting? Just happened to somebody I know.
They're not easy to connect with, that's for sure. And yeah, in that situation, you start having doubts about whether they can be trusted.
Yeah.
It's the old story. In the absence of facts, we will make up stories to fill in the blanks, right? When somebody isn't telling us what to expect next and we're not hearing from them, we start inventing stories to explain what we're experiencing. And a lot of times those stories have no basis in fact. They're just, you know, wild conjecture about what's happening because we got to have something to explain why this is not going the way that I thought it was going to go. And that breaks down trust.
Yeah. And I mean, just a personal story about a videographer that I had so much confidence in. I mean, I get the emails, I see the website. I mean, I've had this all deal. And prior to COVID, we put money down with this company. And I'm just telling you, it's been the biggest nightmare of my life to get anybody to call me back. So, you know how I got somebody to call me back? You ready for this? I called their sales department.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Department. Yeah. Sales department was easy.
They'll answer the phone.
Yeah, they'll answer the phone every time. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like, do I trust that they're going to finish and do what they say they're going to do? Yeah, not really. I'm trying to hold their feet to the fire, but it's been difficult. They're a little slippery, you know. But it's really interesting, and they're a big company. I mean, this is not a little bitty lackey company. So it's just interesting the way that is. Now, here's another thing that I think is really, really important. Protect your customers' information. So it's been several years ago. I knew somebody that did some work for we're close to Nashville, Tennessee. So there are a lot of country stars here. So somebody actually did some work on some country star's home. And they just arbitrarily went out and showed pictures and talked about it, did stories about it, the whole 9 yards. And guess what happened? That country artist was not happy. Wife wasn't happy, family wasn't happy. So they didn't guard and protect customers' information. When we go out to do video at locations, do you know what the number one question we get when we're on site? Are you going to show the address of my home? The answer is always no. Everything we do is really close up. And so we go through and explain to the homeowner exactly what's going on. Why? Because we want to protect that customer's information.
You want to be transparent about what the process is so that they understand, and that builds the trust. Yeah. Yeah, we use a system called LastPass for storing passwords and keeping those passwords secure for our company. And because our company has a lot of employees that need to share some of those same passwords with one another, we need a secure way of sharing those passwords. And so we're all in this system. And just recently, LastPass was the subject of a breach. I mean, they were hacked by somebody, and at first they only let a certain amount of information about the hack out. Now, there may have been security reasons for that, and there may have been legitimate reasons to hold back certain information in the original announcement. But later, when they investigated more and they released more information about the hack, it appeared, because they hadn't shared everything to begin with, it appeared as if they had tried to protect themselves by hiding information or hiding details about the hack. They weren't transparent in that way. And then but the bottom line was, because their entire business is the business of protecting other people's most private, secure, and critical information in their system, a breach like that it destroys trust so quickly. And I don't know. I mean, I know after that, I would see videos just by the dozens of people who were leaving LastPass and migrating all of their information over to some other platform. And the reason is because they no longer trust the way it was handled. They no longer trust that LastPass has their best interests at heart or is going to do right by them. And just like that, I mean, a business can be killed.
Yeah. So this is all marketing related too. If you guys haven't figured that out, if you don't have trust with people, or you have a great deal of trust and then you lose it. I'll never forget. I don't remember who told me this, but when I was a kid, said you can spend a lifetime building a great reputation, and just one thing in one moment, you can lose it all.
Yep.
You can lose it all. So, we just have to be diligent about these things. Here's something that I am pretty good about. I am pretty doggone consistent. That's one of the best. I think of all these qualities, it's like, yeah, I got to work on that one. I got to work on that. I saw this one. I went, yes, I got one. I'm good at this one. So, consistency to me is, that's one of the things that when you're consistent, people they can lean on you and they can count on you. You realize that consistency matters. When I can count on somebody, man, that person goes up in my book. I don't care who it is. If I can count on you, yeah, you're probably going to be a friend of mine. One of the people that outside of Jerry is like this, but also Chuck Roydhouse is like this. He's been one of the people that I can count on. If I have a question and I need something pretty darn quick, if Jerry's not available, then Chuck Roydhouse is my next guy, or Chuck didn't do it, Jerry's my next guy to find out, is this correct? Because they have so much knowledge in the chimney industry. And let me tell you, they are both consistently, if they can get to me, they will get to me and answer my question. And that consistency, I would tell you, is probably the basis of my friendship with both of them. So, I really appreciate
consistency works both ways, though. And that's, the flip side of that is that, being consistent in a good way is great, but being consistent in a negative way, in other words, always being late, right? That's consistency. Sure. That's
true.
You're being consistent, and it does build trust. I trust that people who are always late to a meeting are not people that I'm going to put in charge of certain things. I trust that people who, constantly talk ill about their spouse can't be trusted with my secrets, with personal information that I wouldn't like other people to know. I mean, that sort of behavior, the consistency of bad behavior builds a lot of trust too, but it's not the kind of trust that you want to build with your customers.
Yeah, I trust that you will rob me blind.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point. That is a good point. I want to go back over here to some of the comments because I think this is important, because Terry, being a woman in the industry, she uses her credentials. I think that is really good to make sure that people understand she knows what she's talking about. She's credentialed. She knows her stuff. And, you can trust that with her. I think that's great. Yes, Hannah, you're absolutely right. Your name will be mud if you don't live up to trust factors, 100%. And then Chuck says, trust is money in the bank. Yep. Totally agree, Chuck. Totally agree. So here we go. Providing excellent customer service. So this is something I think I touched on last week about being in New Orleans and having that whole thing and how everything was so absolutely fantastic until the last day. And it was just that one bellhop on the last day that turned what would have been I would have written them a glowing review. Instead, I didn't write a review. So that's the difference between excellent customer service and
And that was a situation where up until that time, you had really good experiences with their customer service. And then one guy blew it for everybody.
Yeah.
One experience at the end colored the whole thing.
And, and I've had one person challenge me on that and say, well, that's really not fair, because it was just, the one guy just blew it for all. And I said, well, if I had gone on there and blasted and given them a really negative review, I would tell you that's correct, that it would not have been fair. And I don't give negative reviews, by the way. I'll just tell you, you're going to have to really tick me off. I mean, like really give me a bad experience for a negative review because I just know what reviews do. So I just don't do that. Um, and nobody's ticked me off apparently that bad because I haven't given a negative review. But on the flip side of that, I'm really a good review writer if you give me a really good experience. If you don't, I just don't write them. I mean, that's just it. So people who don't have reviews, I've had people tell me it's so hard to get a review. Well, are you hitting all the trust factors and ending it with excellent customer service? That's what I ask people all the time. Well, are you giving them a a experience, if you will, that deserves a review? I mean, because you have to do that. And so we were talking to Jerry Eisenhower. We went out for Carter's birthday was on Monday, so y'all can wish him all happy birthday. Um, and we were in Louisville at HPB Expo and went out to dinner and ran into Cheryl and Jerry Eisenhower. So when we were there, we were talking about some of these things, and Jerry made some really good points about him starting to really teach sales totally differently and not even call it sales training, but I think the word he uses is believability training. So we're going to bring him on. You ready, Carter?
Yeah, I'll bring him in.
Yeah, we're going to bring Jerry in because Jerry, tell us a little bit about what you were telling us about what you're actually doing and how you came to the realization that it really isn't sales training. It should be believability training.
Okay, so it goes back a long time, actually, Taylor. And when I went through training with Gittimer and my sales certification, one of the things that Gittimer stressed was trust and building a relationship. And one of his things was that if you don't close the sale, whenever you leave that site, you need to ask yourself, what trust did I not gain with this customer? How did I not build a relationship? So I don't know if we were all thinking on the same wavelength, but a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 2 months ago, I started thinking, I don't think we should be doing sales training. What we've got to be doing is believability training. In other words, we are giving a client an opinion. Now, are they going to believe that opinion? And it's going to depend on the way we approach it. It's going to depend on the tone of voice. It's going to depend on how we share it. So we have started changing all of our sales training. In fact, I've already done some videos on this, and we now call it believability training. And this also comes into play when you are interviewing new prospective employees. They have to buy into you. They have to believe in you. So this term of believability, I think, is a really big one for everyone to be looking at.
Yeah. So when you talk about believability, so you almost have to build trust for somebody to believe you,
Yes,
right?
yes, you do. And that's what I tell people. It's like when we're teaching sales training that we're now calling believability training, I honestly believe that the sale is made in the first 90 seconds of when you meet someone. People are going to form opinions based on your body language, based on your words that you speak, based on do you listen, which is a really big one. Think for a minute how you like to be interrupted. It's not good, and it does dispute trust. It's just like when we're doing a broadcast such as this. It's very hard to sit here but not to interrupt someone. That's why you see us taking these pauses when one of us speaks and somebody else comes in. It's part of the believability process.
I
Yeah.
like reframing it that way, to talk about rather than sales, rather than me pushing an agenda. It's, there's something else in that phrase, believability. It's people have to trust that you have their best interests at heart, and
Yeah.
that what you're telling them about their system or their needs or the solutions that you have that you can bring, if they don't trust that you have their best interests at heart, they're not going to buy anything anyway. I mean, regardless of how bad they need it, they're going to buy it from somebody else because you they don't believe you. they don't trust you.
Correct. You know, one of the principles that I've often shared, in fact, there's actually people on this that are listening to us right now, is what I call the 60-20-20 principle. And this is what we all have to remember. 20% of the people that you will meet in your life are going to love you, they're going to cherish their relationship, they're going to be very good friends with you. 20% of the people that you meet in your life will want to have nothing to do with you. Sorry, Terry, but this is the way it is. If everybody believed in us, then your phone would really be abnormally out there because everybody wants you. And in between that is 60% of the human population. And that's what we have to concentrate on, is how do we become believable to that 60% between those two 20% figures, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's really true. I'm not sure that the 20% likability is on my side. I always think it's about 10% for me, and I probably have about 30% that. So, hopefully, when I die, 20% will show up at my funeral, and I'll be wrong. So that'll be great.
Well, it is. And also, this is something else. You can regain trust.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of people don't understand. You could actually, but it takes being a very true man, a true woman, a true gentlewoman, a true gentleman in order to mend fences. But you got to remember, if a wall ever goes up between you and a customer, scaling that wall becomes a much more difficult task. You know, we've all had clients, customers that may have had a problem with us. And what you've got to do is be willing to listen to that. You know, that's what you teach in writing answers to reviews, is you got to stand back and don't let it go. Don't let loose. But yeah, you can mend when trust is broken, but you're going to have to step up to the plate. It's just like if somebody is disappointed in something you've done in websites, and something I've done in training or in coaching, we've got to step up and be willing to listen to this. And when you can listen to people, my opinion, that's going to add believability and trust into that relationship.
Well, and I really do agree with that. I also think people think things should be easy. And there are things in life that just aren't easy. And once you've lost trust, building trust is never easy. And so you do have to do the hard work.
Right. And
You've
I
got to
think,
listen. You've got to make concessions. You've got to figure out what you have to do to regain trust with that person.
right. And you know, we see business examples like right now in the last week, there's many people that because of things that happened in the banking industry with two banks now wanted to pull their money out of the banking system. Okay. And we've seen this, or we could take the Toyota example where Toyota stepped up to the plate. They had a brake pedal issue, and that could cause people to lose faith in the vehicle and not buy the vehicle. And then how do you step up from this? We saw it with Southwest with the debacles they had over Christmas on their airline. I mean, the other night we're trying to get back from Louisville, and we've got 4 flight delays. And I fly a lot, and it makes you really think: do you want to get on airplanes? Can you trust you're going to get there when you want to do it?
Yeah, I mean those are all really interesting things to say when you talk about trust. That big companies have just as big, if not bigger, obligations of trust than the rest of us. The
Well,
small.
I just bought another vehicle yesterday from a dealership that I have purchased over 25 vehicles in my lifetime. They're not the lowest cost, but I know that if I purchase something there, because I don't buy new vehicles, I know it's going to be a good vehicle, and I know they're going to stand behind it. So, you know, we bought so many vehicles there over the years. We're long-term customers, and but we don't dick our price. We go in, okay, but what's that one going to cost me going out the door?
All right. Well, that's great. Hey, Jerry, thank you very much for coming on and just sharing that with us today. We've hit our 30 minutes. We really appreciate you doing that. I think that's great. So if any of y'all don't know, Jerry, well, just give us your spiel, Jerry, so people that may not know you know how to get in touch with you.
Certainly. My name is Jerry Isenhour. Our company is CBC Success Group, and we are a coaching, training, consulting company, and we service blue-collar home service industries. Chimney sweeps, chimney service is our primary area, but we work with other industries, home inspectors, garage doors. Actually got a gutter installation company. And earlier today, I talked to an asphalt company. So business is business, but that's what we do. We work with companies to try to help them get to their business streams.
Fantastic, Jerry. Thank you very much.
Hey, appreciate the opportunity. Y'all guys be good.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. So, wow, good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always great. Well, we're at time, so here we go. Our spiel here. Spark Live is also released as a podcast. Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Podvine, or your favorite player. I always sound like an announcer when I do that. It's so fun.
I can hear the music in the background.
I know. We need to do that.
Playing us off.
Soft music back there. Well, next week we're going to have Q&A. So please, Taylor at sparkmarketer.com or Carter at sparkmarketer.com. Send us your questions if you have any. We've got some kind of in the queue, and know that we are going to be coming at you with those if you don't have any. So we're always here. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye.